you get to the highest level that you dream about, and you learn from everybody, but you also try to be yourself.
Hello, friends. That ball must have a pimento sandwich on it because it is out of here.
Hello, friends. High drive, deep, and that's par for the course because it's gone. Masters. Thanks.
Goodbye. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode number something. And I tell you what, we're going to get right to our guest today, who is somebody that I grew up watching pitch. And then for the last couple decades, I've been watching him teach other people how to pitch. It's good to see you, Mr. Chad Chop. How are you, first of all?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. And we both were rocking white T-shirts today, and I feel like we look good.
We're twinning. If you want to see us on YouTube, who's our guest today, Coach Chopper?
Special guest today, Rick Honeycutt, who can't wait. We always say this, but I really can't wait for folks to meet him. Tremendous human.
Yeah, and I go down the old rabbit hole the morning of, and got to see that he played for 21 seasons. Man, he pitched for 21 seasons, and then you go back to college. He's a volunteer, University of Tennessee. He was an All-American first baseman in college.
But I didn't even know that.
Southeastern Conference batting title, batted over 400. So an incredible athlete, great pitcher. And then he's been the pitching coach for the Dodgers for the past going on 15 years or so. He just stepped down from that job, I believe. But yeah, you got to spend quality time with him in that Dodgers clubhouse. Is that right?
Yeah, his office was in our, I guess my office, Jock called it, in the video room. But yeah, so Honey was in there with us, and I'd make him shakes every day. So I just love on him with just a delicious shake. Lots of bananas, frozen strawberries, almond milk, peanut butter, jelly, honey. And yeah, so he would always look forward to our. We still talk about that. Man, I miss your shakes. So
you just brought love to the clubhouse. You were Mr. Love.
That was it, man. It was intentional. Every day on the way to the field, I would just think positive vibes and just who can I love on today, and how can I try to help us have just a good environment to try to get the job done for that day.
Man, how's the team doing? Are they spending quality time together? You feel good?
I feel great. 12-game winning streak, that's still intact. Big game today. But yeah, we're getting better every day, and we're playing good baseball. It's fun.
Nice. Full transparency for the listener, you've had some cramps the past 2 nights, and we as a group of listeners should give Chad Chop an attaboy, and then those hamstring cramps can go away and he can sleep nicely. So 1, 2, 3, attaboy.
I need it, man. I'll tell you, it's weird. It's a bizarre.
Opening day, Thursday. It's starting baseball. Who's your pick? Who do you got?
I mean, I think it's going to be the Dodgers and the Giants in the World Series. Can I say that?
Yeah. I mean,
bold prediction.
That is very bold. Hot take. I don't know if it's scientifically possible, but it's mathematically impossible.
It is not. It is not likely or possible. But yeah, I've got buddies, a lot of close buddies on those teams. So
I'm excited to talk to Rick about being the pitching coach for all those Dodgers pitchers, those studs. I mean, what does a pitching coach do? What's his advice for young pitchers and youth coaches out there? He's got just a geyser of knowledge for the young pitchers. So, well, folks, you're in for a treat today. Chad Chopper came clutch with a guest. Born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, went to high school in Georgia, went to college at the University of Tennessee, where he was an All-American first baseman, batted .404 at Tennessee. But you know him as a pitcher for 21 seasons in the big leagues, 2-time All-Star, a World Series champion in 1989. Who won that World Series? The Oakland Athletics. And he's been the pitching coach for the Dodgers for what seems like the past 2 decades. And he's Rick Honeycutt. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Chopper, you were telling me something about his vibe. What do you notice about Rick that you would like to share?
Yeah, the thing about Honey is just this calming influence. When he's around, or when he shows up, or when he starts talking, or even just walks into the room with this smile, or like what's going on? You know, he's a calming influence for our coaches out there. Like, try to set that vibe of just calmness and just a great vibe. Love you, Honey. I'm gonna mute this because of the vacuum.
I tell you what, I can't wait to dive into your knowledge of baseball and pitching and history. But I want to start with the question I ask every kid. What's your nickname?
Well, most people just call me Honey. The people that I like to call me, it's either that or just Cut. Most people then just, hey, Cut, but people that I'm close to, they just call me Honey.
Well, I can just tell by listening to you talk and watching you walk on TV to the pitcher's mound, you're as smooth as honey. So that's where I would go with that. Just very smooth. The next thing I ask every kid I coach is what you had for breakfast. So I'll go right there, Honey. What'd you have for breakfast?
I had Honey Nut Cheerios this morning.
Of course you did.
Fitting. You are what you eat, Honey. Out of the way.
That's great.
That was my walk-up song. Honeycomb. Honeycomb. What's the honeycomb?
I love
yes.
it. I love it. And
that's another song.
Where, Honey, where do we find you today? Where are you?
I'm in Ringo, Georgia, which is a little community just south of Chattanooga, Tennessee, but same county that I grew up in. I grew up in a very small town. They write those country songs about a one-way road that only has one red light in it. That's what I grew up in, was a town of about 5,000 people. It only had, you knew everybody, you didn't have to lock your doors. Everybody went by, you waved, rode your bike everywhere to school and to the ball fields and stuff. So I come from a small town community, and I think that's kind of my roots and grassroots. That's, I think, gave me, kind of my low-key personality. And it's what we moved back here after, actually, when I got traded from from LA to Oakland, we moved back here, and this is where we've raised our family, and all my family lives. So that's where that's my hook up there.
I can relate. I grew up in a one-horse town myself, and you're right. Everybody just talks a little bit smoother and more quiet, and everything's pretty even keeled. Were you able to sustain that even keel even when you got to the highest level, pitching in the majors?
Well, I don't know about you, but when you're growing up, you want to see the world, you want to see other places and stuff, and so we lived. My first big league team was Seattle, so we moved to Seattle. My daughter was born there. Then I got traded to Texas. We bought a house in Texas. My son was born in Texas, and then we go to LA, and LA kind of was Texas. Texas was more my lifestyle, being around Texans. Kind of had that small town atmosphere around Arlington area. But then going to LA, now all of a sudden you went to the extreme, and so LA was a little more fast paced. And as soon as I got traded from LA to Oakland, my wife was like, and the kids were getting, starting to go to school. And she's like, I want to get them settled somewhere. And now that they're in school, and I said, where do you want to go? And she goes, well, I'm going to need help with you still playing. So that's when we moved back here. We moved back to the Chattanooga area back in 1988, and so we've been here ever since. And so I think coming back here, it made you realize kind of what you had, those grassroots, and that you live longer here. It seems like, it kind of just the slower pace, and so you come home and after being in LA, you kind of can breathe again and relax, and this is kind of this is me really. This type of lifestyle is more what I'm used to.
Love it. Love it. Chopper, I'll
Yeah,
hand it off to you for a bit.
yeah, that leads me into my first question. Would you say that was kind of what caused your style, right? Because your coaching style is as good as I've ever seen, from the sense of you're super knowledgeable, you're super prepared, and you have obviously this 21 years in the big leagues as a player. So that comes with something, right? But then more importantly, you're welcoming, you're loving, you have empathy. Where did that come from? Did a coach show you that, or is that just straight because of where you came from?
Well, I think it starts from your upbringing. I mean, my parents. I mean, they were a hard worker, and you earned what you got, and you worked hard. And we're just a middle class family, and Christian background, and just that nature of being in a community that everybody pulled together and was one, and then getting away. I mean, you get to the highest level that you dream about, and you learn from everybody, but you also try to be yourself. And I think that's where I tried that, tried to kind of, I guess, interject in the other things, but you always end up, I think, going back to your roots. And for me, though, I got to play with great guys, learned a lot from everywhere. I was always, kind of an overachiever. I didn't have great talent. Um, not the best, maybe not the worst, but always trying, to be better. And I was always trying to learn. And I think, though, my getting to LA, probably being around Sandy Koufax and Dave Wallace and Ron Peronowski, I probably learned more in one spring training than I'd ever learned in my life about pitching. And their personality. Sandy is a guy that doesn't force his ideas on you. He just loves to talk pitching, loves to talk just the baseball in general. And but they have a simple way of teaching, and so that's really where I got kind of my instincts from the coaching side. And but being around LaRussa, him and Dave Duncan were super prepared. I mean, they were, you know, above. I mean, Dunk was charting pitches and positioning well before you had analytics and all the other stuff going on. So I think that was very impressive to me. Exactly how, what was the difference in winning, close games and getting the best out of each individual, that side of it. So you learn from everybody, getting a chance to be at that high level. You absorb all that information and learn from each of the pitchers. Learn from Eckersley, learn from Dave Stewart, learn from Bobby Welch, learn from all, and then get to LA and have Fernando and Oral Hershiser, the Jerry Royce. I mean, these are all names that everybody recognizes, but you learn from them, and that community of the best. You take pieces of each one of them and then apply it, and I think that's where the experience of I was a starter, I was a reliever, I was a middle guy, I was a closer, I was injured. All those things happened in my career. So it doesn't matter what position a pitcher comes to me, I probably was in that position at one time. Good days, good season, bad times, good times. Those are the highs and lows that you go through, and not everybody can have has that experience. And you try to you know I realize how tough the game is, and we're not robots. We're not, everything to now is a little bit too much on the computer to where it's still the mind of you. The great thing about pitching against the hitter is the one-on-one battle, that it's you against him. And those things just really, jumped out at me. I remember telling all my guys, it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. Take the best hitter in the game, whoever it may be at that time, a George Brett or Tony Gwynn or Wade Boggs or Barry Bonds. At that, can I get that guy out one time? And really, that's the focus: is one pitch at a time. It's kind of like I see your golf out there at the Masters. I mean, golf especially. You don't get ahead of yourself, and you don't think of the past. You think about one shot at a time. Have a pre-pitch, pre-shot routine, and you go through that, and good or bad, and then you erase it and to go to the next one. It's try to make each individual pitch be its own, but live in the moment, live in that moment, and enjoy that moment, and try to thrive in that moment, whether it be good or bad. Learn from your mistakes, but enjoy the successes.
So much that you said there that you and I align, trying to be a sponge, right? Like that's how you grow. You don't come in thinking you know it all and you know most of it, but you still came in as a sponge. Try to get better every day, right? And treat people the right way. Like that, like if there were 3 pillars of me to describe like who you are, that's it. And then also living in the moment, right? Like greatness lives in the moment. So if you make a mistake, it's gone. You can't change it. If you're worried about the guy on deck,
Right.
You're in trouble. If you're worried about the second pitch of the at bat when you're on the first pitch, you're in trouble. So you got to breathe, you got to slow down, you got to be in the moment. Honey, there's a reason why you're my guy, and you're the best. And it's because of all those things you just said. And for our players out there, absorb that and learn from that. This man here, Rick Honeycutt, knows a lot about the game, but every single day he's still hungry to learn and absorb and be a sponge. So that's great. Coach Ballgame.
Yeah. That's the great thing about the game of baseball. I mean, nobody knows everything, and each aspect of it changes each day. And I like the guys. I thought Maddox was just a huge influence on our younger pitchers. I know Kershaw and all those guys, but he was on the bench watching the game, understanding the game. Oral was like that too. Oral was, involved in the game so much that he sat by Tommy at the time and would a lot of times be telling Tommy what he thought should be happening at that time. But the process is you're thinking along every pitch of the game. So you want your players involved in every pitch, knowing exactly what should be doing. And so those thoughts are going through your mind all the time. You're watching, the pitchers, and you're trying to sequence with them. I mean, that's the thing, is being in and knowing where you're going. And that's how you slow the game down, and kind of it's already in your mind, and the process is working. And so you throw a ball or you throw a strike, you're watching the hitter, how he approaches that pitch, and it kind of helps you how you're going to go evolve the whole at bat. And if he gets you that time, you got to say, hey, maybe I got to try a little different approach. And that's the fun of the game to me, is that ability to match the mind game. And that's for your young guys and all the way through. And that's why I say so many guys that are stuck in AAA that get up and get a taste, they don't absorb the full range of things that they can do and get outside their comfort zone a little bit. And I remember we had a young pitcher, and he was facing Bryce Harper, and I went to the mound and I said, we get the 2 strikes right here. I said, you have the ability. I said, you got a great slider, but can you backdoor this slider to him? And he goes, I don't know. I've never tried it before. Well, AJ Ellis was catching. AJ he said, we can do this. He said, I'm going to set up on the outer third back here. And he said, just throw your best slider just to me right there. He strikes Harper out. And those are the things. It never tried that pitch before, but he had the ability to trust, and he was able to do it. And that's the belief that you got to have in yourself.
Man, I could just sit back and listen to a book on tape of you talking baseball, and we have a lot of listeners that are coaches or parents of young players, youth players, little league, middle school into high school. I want to pick your brain about certain pitchers that you've coached and played against, but for the little league pitcher, for the 12-year-old, what do you tell their coach? What do you tell their parents as they're trying to improve and start to get seen by high school coaches and college coaches?
Well, I think, that's the beauty of the game when you're young. It's loving the game, but also you've got to, as we've already talked about, you have to practice what you're going to try to accomplish. So for the young pitchers out there, their practice has to be important, and it's not just, everything now is about power and trying to throw hard, but that shouldn't be their focus at 11 or 12 years old. It should be commanding the baseball, command the fastball. Right then at that age should be my first purpose, is to be able to, you and the catcher, I see the catcher, I'm throwing to the glove. I'm trying to hit, a down and away. I mean, still to the day, a solid fastball down and away is going to get 80% of the hitters out, maybe higher than that, but having that ability to command that pitch, that I can throw a pitch at any time that I want to, that's the ability that we have to concentrate on. And then if I have the ability then maybe to incorporate a change up or change of speed of some kind, whether it be a small little breaking ball or whatever, but still it plays off the fastball. And for me, as a young, teaching somebody young, it's being able to, focus in on their abilities. Obviously there's going to be some mechanical things that you have to do, but it's about repeating, it's body control and being able to control your body so that I can deliver a ball a higher percentage of time into an area that I want to throw it in. And when I start doing that and I start having success, and as you gain success, we gain confidence, and they just go hand in hand. And that's what hopefully our parents and coaches are enthusiastic with them, that when they do something well is appreciate what they've just done. That's a big deal for a young player to hear that was, extremely good, and give them that reinforcement of what they're doing well. And the world in itself is so negative, and they always look of things that we can't do. Focus in on what they can do, and let's repeat what we can do and continue to do that well, more and more and more. And then you get, more positive outcome than we have negative outcome.
Love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of teaching the do's, not the don'ts. If I tell a kid don't rush your motion, they're going to rush their motion. So, put that positive. We talked to Daniel Bard about this. Just make just a small mental note that's positive and external. That's huge for a player, as opposed to internalizing all this negative stuff. So such good advice there, Honey. Chopper, back to you.
Yeah. And you can hear, Honey, how it's positive, right? So find a chance to encourage your athletes, these young kids. And when they do it right, make a big deal about it, because you never know what that can do for their confidence and where that can take them. So as coaches, be super mindful of that. It's great. And I love fastball command, Honey. Even my high schoolers here, we had Brent Strom come out and talk to the kids. And he's like, your coaches are telling you to throw strikes. Don't listen to that. Throw it as hard as you can. I'm like, oh God, he set me back like a month. So I need you to command your fastball, boys. I need strikes. Okay. Question I have for you is, and this is a tough one, and you can say more than 4, but in your baseball life, this doesn't have to be just teammates. Can you put together a Mount Rushmore? That's 4 faces. I think it's almost impossible, but 4 teammates on your Mount Rushmore for like friendship or kindness? It doesn't have to be their ability on the field, because you've been around countless people, but folks that have impacted you in a positive way, that these are your guys.
Well, my guy, one of my first in my big league career getting to Seattle. So I was traded from Pittsburgh from AA and went to Seattle in an expansion year in 77. But one of my first catchers that I had was Ray Fossey. Well, here's Ray that had been an all-star. We all remember Pete Rose running over him in the all-star game that separated his shoulder and really kind of set back his career. But Ray was this veteran catcher that just was, when he was behind the plate, the confidence that he gave me, and just like, go with me, kid, I'm going to help you, lead through this lineup right here. And the way he talked and helped me not to worry so much about this or that. It was just like that communication between a pitcher and catcher. So Ray was huge for me at that time, to have that ability to help me get through the early stages and kind of get you over that hump of the pressure that you're putting on yourself. I think then getting to LA was huge, where Hershiser, we're still huge friends. And, you're talking about lifetime buddies. But Oral was young and I was a veteran, but I kind of took him under my wing. But over time, that catch partner and person that you talk with in between and on the bench, and what we were pitches and things like that, just from pitching to life, everything that we go through, we're just like this. And so Oral would definitely be one of those guys.
Who's number 3?
Number 3 is the great Bob Welch. Bobby Welch was with LA at the time, and I'd been mainly a kind of a sinker slider pitcher up until that time, but Bobby had not only a great arm and great fastball, but he had this unbelievable curveball. And so with Bobby's help and Sandy Koufax's help, and all of a sudden I could spin the baseball, but I didn't have their grip. I didn't have their feel. And playing catch with Bobby in the outfield and just perfecting the grip for me was like huge. And all of a sudden now I had this pitch that I'd never really had before. And it was like earth shattering at the time, because it was like, dang. And you could just, through this, I mean, it was like, it's hard to explain, but I mean, the way they grip the ball and the way they put it into it created a vice between the ball in your fingers between right here, and you just got it in, and you threw it hard, and it wasn't like you're trying to manipulate. You threw it hard, and you threw it right at the catcher's mask and knew the ball was going to break. And it just was like, it was so much fun to like learn a new pitch like that really helped me to have, that third pitch that I really had a lot of confidence in. So Bobby Welch, rest his soul, loved Bobby. And then we were teammates in Oakland also. And that was fun. And then, even though I didn't get to play with him, but Koufax is like he's the number one head in my mind. I know, but we all looked up to him. Not only was he like the master, he was a great teacher. And I just can't say enough about his influence on my life as a baseball player. So those are my 4 key guys.
Good. It's really good. I always break down our guest's playing career with a trivia contest. So we're going to get to that. That's a tease where I'm going to ask some Rick Honeycutt trivia questions, and you and Chad Chop will see who can answer the correct answer first. But before we get to the trivia, you were Clayton Kershaw's pitching coach for over a decade, and we as fans, we see what makes him great, but what do we not know about Clayton that makes him one of the best of all time?
Yeah. Kirsch was made to the big leagues at 19. So he's drafted. And so he's drafted, and the very next spring, they allow him to come over and pitch in a major league game. And we're playing a night game against the Red Sox. Well, I can't remember the first batter's name because the guy was a AAA player that was in the game. And so this young pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, and basically a hitter that we didn't know, and the guy hits a home run off of him, right? And so we're going, oh, hope that doesn't ruin his psyche or whatever. Well, next up is Big Papi, who everybody knows, David Ortiz, right? Well, he strikes David Ortiz. Behind him is Sean
Middlebrooks? No.
The left-handed hitter, played with Cincinnati but went to Boston.
Casey.
Sean Casey, right? Sean Casey comes up next, right? Well, Sean Casey comes up, boom, where it gets 2 strikes, boom, lands another curveball, strikes him out. And I'm trying to remember who the third batter. And anyway, he ends up striking out the side after the home run, right? And everybody's just like, oh my gosh, and he comes, here's Kirsch, just this 18-year-old young guy, and he sits down next to me there in Vero Beach, and he goes, wow, that was so much fun. And nothing to, what we're talking about, didn't care less that he'd given up a hit, much less it being a home run, but just the excitement on his face of the challenge and getting the opportunity to go out there and face those type of guys and succeed. But his face made me think of, when we were little kids, just the smile and the excitement, enthusiasm that he had for the game. And Kirsch, I knew right then, Kirsch was going to be, I never anticipated him being the great pitcher, the best pitcher in the game, basically, for over a decade, and still a great pitcher. But I knew right then I loved what I was seeing because of his enthusiasm. And Kirsch was one of those guys, though, hard worker, wanted to prepare. And, when he got up to the big leagues, then the very next year he's in the big leagues. About halfway through the season, we got some injuries, and he's up at pitching in the big leagues. His first game's against the Cardinals and facing guys like Albert Pujols in that lineup. I mean, but yeah, Kirsch, though, is the ultimate teammate, player, hard worker, just everything about him, prepared and wanted to get better. And, today he's still redefining himself. I just got back from spring training, and now, even though he's worked on a changeup forever, I mean, he's incorporating a changeup into his repertoire, and he's always trying to get better. And those are the things that you can't put, your finger on, that just, some people just have that ability that they just continue to work and get better. I mean, he's had a lot of physical issues over his career, but continues to go out there, and he's going to battle you tooth and nail every at bat, every pitch. And he's made himself into, a Hall of Famer.
Amazing. The phrase that stood out to me was his enthusiasm for the challenge. And that, as a coach, that's what I'm trying to teach kids and other coaches. Try to ingrain this enthusiasm for how difficult it is. They should love going 0 for 3 because it's that enthusiasm for failure and success and all of it in one, and makes a lot of sense why he's one of the best of all time. Before I get to trivia, Chopper, did you have anything to button that up?
I do, but I would love for this sound to stop behind me. I do. I have a couple things I want to say about. Okay, here we go. You can edit that. Yeah, like you don't stumble into greatness. Son of a. Hate to see it.
Wait for it. Wait for the plane. It's like the plane in a movie set.
I know. I'm gonna mute it again so you guys don't have to hear it.
Well,
all right. Okay. Yeah. So like for me, like you don't stumble into greatness. So a guy like Kersh works his tail off. He's got that mentality. And it's like when I remember Kobe as a rookie making three air balls in the row in the playoffs, but he wasn't scared to take the shot. So he gives up the home run. Honey, to your point, everyone's worried, oh, it's going to mess with his psyche. No, he punches out the next 3 guys. That's a glimpse of how great he is. I love it.
Love that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Rick Honeycutt trivia. You, as the listener, you try to answer it out loud faster than Honey and Chopper here. But there's some names on this list, and we'll get right to it. As soon as you know it, just say it out loud. And if you get it wrong, you can keep on guessing till somebody gets it right. What batter did Honey face the most with 52 plate appearances?
Jeez.
AL or NL?
AL, his whole career. Same team, his whole career.
52 times?
52 plate appearances this batter had. You guys had some battles.
Oh, man. I don't know. I faced the Yankees a lot.
Lefty bat, not a Yankee.
What's that?
Left-handed batter, not a Yankee.
Not a Yankee.
Only guy to hit to have the batting title in 3 different decades, I believe, is a trivia question for him. Definitely the only one in the AL.
Wade Boggs.
Not Wade Boggs. Ooh, the listeners might have it.
Initials.
GB.
George Brett.
Correct.
George Brett.
52 plate appearances for George Brett. I think, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of ABs. You got him out a lot. He got some hits, but 1-0. 1-0.
I know he got it. I know he got a ton of hits. That guy, he during my time, I thought that was the best hitter in the game.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who's the toughest hitter you had to face. I'm guessing he was right up there.
Well, George, the game on the line. I think if you had a guy that you wanted up at the plate, George Brett would be the guy during my era. He could do it all. How many guys can hit 388 and have 20 doubles, 20 homers, 20 triples? I mean, he could do whatever he wanted to with the bat. I mean, he was something special, that's for sure.
You talk about enthusiasm for the grind. That guy, man, loved it. 1-0, Honey in the lead. Chopper, let's see if you can get on the board here. Who did Honey strike out the most? This batter, he struck out 10 times in his career.
That had to be a lefty probably.
Yep. Lefty power hitter.
Had to be like McGriff, maybe.
Good guess. Yankee and an A.
Reggie?
Correct. Reggie Jackson 10 punches.
Let's go, Honey.
He got me one time though. I got to tell you a funny story if I can.
Yeah.
All right. So my very first start was in Yankee Stadium in the big leagues in 1977. I got traded from AA to Seattle. Pitched in relief that night against Toronto, 2 innings. A few days later, we go on the road and I pitch in Cleveland out of relief. And 3 days later, they tell me I'm going to start against the Yankees, right? Well, the Yankees, I grew up being a Yankee fan, and they've just won the World Series in '76. And so now all of a sudden, here, can you imagine going to the ballpark and then they just throw the chart in your locker and say, you're starting tomorrow night? Well, all of a sudden I went from like just having this giddy feeling. It's like all of a sudden I go out and I'm watching BP and these guys. I mean, their lineup was Mickey Rivers, Willie Randolph, Reggie Jackson, no, Thurman Munson, Reggie Jackson, Chris Chambliss, Craig Nettles, Lou Piniella, Paul Blair, Bucky Dent, right? And watching these guys take BP, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So now it comes my night to start. And I go, and this had never happened to me in my life. And I went into my windup to make the first pitch. And as soon as I moved my right leg, lifted it up, my left knee was shaking so bad. I still threw the ball and it almost hit Mickey right in the head, right? And so I get the ball and I kind of acted like, just brush him back, thinking that that's going to be all over. Whew, take a big deep breath, relax, let's go. Lift my right leg again and it's quivering just as bad. This one, I actually yell out, watch out, because it is going right for his face. And he falls down like a ton of bricks. And their dugout is on the top step screaming bloody murder at me, like, what are you doing, this rookie? Da, 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 And so somehow the third pitch, it wasn't quivering as bad, and he jumped out of the box and the umpire, I guess it was around the plate, he calls a strike. Anyway, Mickey ends up hitting a chopper on the next pitch, bounces over my head, infield hit. Randolph, first pitch, does what he's supposed to do, put it in the 4-hole. First and second, nobody out. Now I got Thurman Munson up, and I'm in my mind, you're talking about negatives going through your mind. I'm going, this is going to be the shortest outing anybody. I'm not going to get anybody out. I can't even, throw the ball. Somehow I get to two balls, 2 strikes on Thurman, and throw him a breaking ball, and I get a swing and miss, strike out Thurman Munson for my first out in this start. And I'm like, whew, at least I got an out. I get Reggie out. Chambliss gets a base hit, scores a run, and I get Nettles out. And I get through that first inning. I don't know how, but finally relaxed a little bit and pitched into the 8th inning that night and didn't get a decision. Left the game tied 3-3. But anyway, I'll never forget those first few pitches, because it was terrifying, basically terrifying.
Oh man. Well, then there's got to be so many of those stories by so many Hall of Famers and players that have, that are household names. That first time it's a knee buckler, and you're at Yankee Stadium facing those juggernauts. Well,
it's important for kids too, Coach Ballgame, because they think, oh, I'm nervous and I'll never be able to do it. No, the very best in the world to ever do it, they were nervous too. And Mookie Betts talked about how he still gets butterflies and he's just learned how to breathe and calm down and get back in the moment and think a positive thought or see a positive result. Really important.
Let's see if Chopper can get on the board here. You struck out Reggie 10 times. Harold Baines, you got him 9 times. But who clipped you the most for the most home runs with 5 in his career?
Chili Davis.
Good guess. Chili's up there, but I think he had
Davis.
4. Chili
Don
had 4.
Baylor.
Don Baylor's correct.
These lists, these names, man, you weren't kidding, Coach Ballgame. This is
George
cornucopia.
Brett, Reggie Jackson, Don Baylor.
Wow.
This was a funny one. Who'd you bean the most? You hit him 3 times in his career.
Mickey Rivers.
Reggie.
That's my guess.
No,
Reggie.
Greg Nettles. You got him 3 times.
Nettles, yeah. Nettles are ready. I got to, going back though, talking about Reggie. This is the other part I was going to go to. So now Reggie, I get traded to Oakland at the end of '87, right? Well, who's on the team? Reggie had went back to Oakland. He wanted to retire as an A, right? So we'd had all these battles over the years, right, against the Yankees. And my pitching coach in Oakland, he's like, don't let Reggie get his arms extended. You got to pitch him tight. Well, I either knocked Reggie or hit him. It seemed like I hit him. I would have thought I'd hit him more, but I knocked him down at least once a game that I started against them because I wanted to get that ball inside on him. And so now here we're teammates, and I'm in the training room looking for something one day, and Oakland's training room was as small as this office that I'm in right now. And so I'm over there looking for something in the corner. Next thing you know, how you feel somebody over your back shoulder. And I'm looking over here and I could feel it and I could see, now I see somebody and I kind of look, and hey, Reggie. And I mean, he's almost on top of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to knock me out right here. And so I turn and look at him. Hey, Reggie, how you doing? He goes, I never liked you. And I go, and so I just got total silence. Thank goodness I had this space of time. I don't know how long it was, but his next sentence was, but he said, I always respected you.
Yes.
And I go, well, I was just told that, I know you're a power hitter. They told me to pitch you inside, and sorry if some of them got away in there. And he goes, well, I knew what I was going to get every time I faced you. Sometime in one of these at bats, I knew it was going to be a high, hard one. And anyway, he sat there and tapped me on the back and said, I just wanted to, it was a chop. I knew I was going to have a battle every time I faced you. And we to this day, we're like, he'd come up, even when I went to Eckersley's induction, he came up to me and he goes, you got all the hard guys out. You had to face all the tough lefties. He said, Egg should have given you a piece of that little hardware that he got. But anyway, it was, facing the Yankees was a highlight of my career every time I got to face those guys.
Oh man, what a story. That's amazing. Chopper, what do you got?
Yeah, it's just a better compliment too. I'd rather have someone say, I don't like you, but I respect you versus, an opponent saying, I like you a lot, but I don't respect you. So to earn Reggie Jackson's respect's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we got a few more minutes here. Are you good on time, honey?
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. I something that stood out to me in my research this morning was that 1989 World Series that you won with the Oakland Athletics. And a little trivia here, who had 2 wins and won the MVP in that World Series?
It had to be Stewart, I'm sure.
Correct.
Stewart.
Chopper, you are now down 4-0.
Who's
Dave Stewart had 2 wins. Here's a toughie, but one of my favorite guys to watch in that series. Who led the A's in runs batted in that series?
Carney Lansford.
Might surprise you.
Carney Lansford.
Carney had a great series, had 7 hits and a great mustache, but did not have the most runs batted in.
Dave
Steinbach.
Hindu had 2 bombs, but you are correct. Terry Steinbach had the most RBIs in that
on the
series.
board.
Let's
go.
There you go.
Boy. Well, I mean, there was a 12-day hiatus in that World Series. I mean, just give us.
Yeah, talk about that.
What was that like?
I'll tell you something that kind of brings you back home is that, we had the 2 games. We win the first 2 games in Oakland. Now we're going to San Francisco. And before the game 3 was the earthquake, right? And we didn't, of course, being inside the stadium, we didn't know how bad it had been outside the stadium because we're inside, even though it's kind of crazy. I mean, I was still in the clubhouse when that thing started shaking like that. and all the power went off. And now they have auxiliary power no matter where you're at, but we didn't have that at that time. And the the clubhouse is underneath the right field stands, right down the right field line. And somebody finally, totally dark in there, and somebody finally found the door, and it was like you're in a cave trying to get outside because you're expecting any minute this thing could crumble right on top of you. I mean, that's how bad it was shaking. And then we get on, everybody gets to the field, and then I'm worried about all my family and everything, and find them, and then they get everybody onto the field. And of course, the game's going to be, then they cancel the game, and then we find out later how bad the surrounding area. So there was even talk of not having the series at all, because Oakland, if you remember, the two double-decker freeway that ran through Oakland, all the tragedy was in Oakland, where that double-decker, the freeway had collapsed on top of all these people trying to get home from work. And during that time, trying to decide, we're not sure if we're even going to play, but one thing that the A's asked us to do, because there's so much tragedy, we visited hospitals, and mainly the children's wings of, and you go in and you see these kids that had to cut body parts off to get them out of cars. And they didn't, a lot of them had lost their moms and dad in the tragedy. But visiting those people, and especially these youth, really put things in perspective, because you think about the game and you think about where you are, and here's the World Series, the thing that you strive to get to, but it put things in perspective that there are a lot of different things in the world, and life's most important. And this tragedy made me feel something, that you just don't go through very often, and that is that life is more important than a game. And anyway, I think that was something that I always cherished after that, was those feelings that, it's just a game. Remember who you are, and enjoy life. And as Chopper said, every day I enjoyed what I was getting to do, that it's a privilege. And anyway, that was a really tough time for a lot of us.
Yeah. And how powerful for these kids to see Ricky Henderson and, Dave Henderson coming in and saying, how you doing? Like the power that has for somebody when their heroes can come into a hospital and say hello. It's awesome, Chopper.
And as coaches working with youth right now, don't get so caught up in the X's and O's, get caught up in the kid's heart. And it is just a game, but can you love on these kids and encourage them and help them, give them life skills so they can succeed on the field, but more importantly, off the field. So as coaches, I think there's a huge message in there too, honey, about it's just a game. So if your kid's struggling on a ground ball, don't wear them out, try to help them, but also love on them and ask them how school's going and how are mom and dad and how's his brother doing. And your kid's going to respect you that much more. We had a practice last night where I had to get into our guys a little bit. We weren't focused, and I had to get into it a little bit, but I finished it with, you guys know I love and respect you. And that's really important. So.
Awesome. It's good. Well, I got one last trivia question and we'll let you go, honey. But we were talking about this before we pushed record. I mean, you batted over 400, All-American first baseman in college at the University of Tennessee. The only other guy to have a higher batting average was who, honey?
Todd Helton.
Todd Helton.
Never heard of him.
Chopper's never heard of him. I mean, that's pretty amazing stuff. And you had 24 career hits as a major leaguer. What pitcher did you get the most plate appearances off of with 8? You actually went 2 for 5 against him with a walk and 2 sacrifice bunts.
Jeez. I have no
8.
idea.
You got 8 at bats off this guy. If I remember correctly, a strong mustache.
Oh, I still don't know.
Nick,
Jack McDowell.
the initials are TP.
P.
Tom
Ace.
Tom
You faced Ted Power 8 times.
Ted Power.
Ted Power.
Yeah, I got that. Only ones I remember is facing Doc Gooden or
Wow.
Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
Steve Carlton was not a guy that a lefty didn't want to face for sure. I remember getting my very first at bat, my very first start in the National League. I got traded from Texas to LA, right? And so I get there and I'm going to pitch the Sunday day game against the Phillies, right? So Kevin Gross was the pitcher for the Phillies, and the first at bat, nobody had gotten a hit in the game. I get my first at bat in the 3rd inning, and I get a base hit through up the middle, right? So I get a base hit. So I'm the first base runner. My second at bat, I don't even know the signs, but I see the runner. There's a runner on 3rd base, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I can see the base runner charging, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I must have missed the squeeze. I turn around, I get the ball down. So my first 2 at bats, I get a base hit, get a squeeze bunt down for the first run of the ball game, and but my next 19 at bats, I think I had like 10 punch outs because I faced guys like I think. Well, I faced the Phillies again in their park the next time, and I'm trying to think if I faced Carlton or who I faced. But then we went on from there. We went to New York. Gooden was the pitcher there, and it was all downhill hitting after my first at bat there for a while.
Amazing. That's so good. Like the names that you faced, either from on the mound or in the batter's box. This has been awesome. If you're listening, go over to the YouTube and check out Honey's background. You got some great stuff behind you. What's your favorite 2 things behind you there?
Oh, my favorite by far is right over here in this corner over here is a signed authentic jersey from the LA deals when they were still the wool jerseys. That's Koufax over there in the corner signed, and also in the left-hand corner of it is a Life magazine of him after he'd thrown a perfect game. And of course, getting to meet Sandy and become friends with him, that's my number 1. In the case, I got all kinds of balls. Joe DiMaggio, Yogi Berra. I've got Drysdale and Hershiser on the same baseball. Mickey Mantle, I got to meet him. I've got Cal Ripken over here on this wall, signed hat from him. A lot of neat things. Up here in the corner is what they gave me. I don't know if you can see it above the TV there, but it's plaqued. It's a pitching rubber, and it's signed by all my teammates in St. Louis the year that I retired. I had Tommy John surgery when I was 42, and so that ended my career. But they all signed the rubber, and the plaque underneath it was telling Rick Honeycutt, major league pitcher had my years, and the last quote that they put on there was the last rubber that Rick ever used.
How about that?
That's cool.
I mean, you got
That's
it.
so cool.
Oh, amazing.
Anyway, just a few things. I got stuff in storage that I just don't have room to put up, but that's some of my favorite. I got Michael Jordan basketball over there. I bought at an auction.
So good.
Of course,
So good
stuff. But anyway, a lot of good stuff. I've been very fortunate to be able to do what I've done my whole life, for sure.
Well, this was a real honor for me. I'll let Chopper close us out, but great meeting you, Rick, and hopefully I'll get to meet you in person one day.
All right. Let's plan on it.
Yeah, you talk about Sandy Koufax and having his jersey. I want a Rick Honeycutt jersey for my office because that's how I feel about you as a man and who you are and how you treat people. And I'm just so thankful for our friendship, honey. And I tell you this all the time, but I mean it. You're the best. And just thank you for who you are. It inspires me and other people too, just to be better because you're the best. And I love you, man. And you're great. So thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, I've had a great time, guys. It's always good to see you, Chop. We just need to
Got
have
that
a
right.
shake together.
We need a shake. I know. I was telling him I used to make you shakes. So, hey, all of our love from the Chops to you and Deb and your awesome family, honey. You're the best.
All right. Tell your family all I said hello. Appreciate
I sure
you.
will. Thanks, honey.
All right,
See you,
man.
bud.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye. Well, it was awesome. Good get there, Chopper.
Rick Honeycutt is the best.
Well, what I would, and this is how we'll close out the podcast is I'd like to be the pitcher on the mound that's in a bind. And then he comes out and talks to me like with his voice, with his cool vibe, like that I'm going to be all right. Like he's going to put it in perspective and keep me calm. So for the coaches out there, when you got a pitcher struggling, get your honey on, right?
Get your honey on, man. He's going to come out there with a plan. It's going to be cool. It's going to be simple. It's going to be, this is what we're going to do right here. You're going to get this done here. He's going to paint the picture, but he's going to do it in a way that, he's prepared, right? So, he knows the hitter that you're facing. And he's just great. Like his delivery, a lot of people know what to say, but they don't know how to deliver it. Right. Honey knows what to say, but he knows how to deliver it. And he delivers it in a calming manner where he's done his homework and you're like, yeah, honey, I can do that. And he's the best. So awesome. we love you, honey.
Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time here. Make sure you rate and review and share. And we got some fun announcements coming up, Chopper. We'll start breaking that news soon, but keep spreading the word and keep raking, right?
Don't forget to rake. Random act of kindness every day. Get out there and be nice to somebody. You never know what that can do. Channel your inner honey.
Attaboy.